Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of If I Knew Then Mom Edition podcast. I'm your host, Maria, and I'm so excited you're here. This podcast is all about real motherhood stories, those unfiltered, powerful lessons we wish somebody would have told us before we became moms. Whether it's about healing, identity, or those tiny humans that somehow teach us more about ourselves than we have ever imagined. This space is for it all. Today, I'm honored to have an incredible guest, Julia. Hi, Julia. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Are you a mom? And if you are, how many kids do you have and what are their ages?
Yes, I am a boy mom. I have two sweet boys, age 6 and 8. They just turned, only recently ago, their ages.
Wow. Well, happy birthday to you because you gave birth to them.
Yeah, thank you.
And so about motherhood, I know that you guys have moved very frequently, right? Just recently. Could you
Mhm.
tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. Um, Maybe I start a little back to give some context because I'm originally from Germany, but I left Germany in 2011 and started, traveling around the world, figured out how to make money online. And I did the digital nomad lifestyle for 10 years straight. And the only reason the kids came on the road, and the only reason why I stopped doing it, I guess, maybe it would have ended anyway somehow, but it coincided with COVID, where we happened to be in Thailand. I was a speaker at a conference up in the north of Thailand, and we said, okay, after that conference, we want to take a little break and vacation down on one of the beautiful islands of Thailand. And that's what we did. Then when we got there, it happened to be, COVID announcement and everything. And we were on this island and everyone around us was literally freaking out and saying we have to leave and what if and what if. And so the original countries would call the people back into their home countries and saying, if you're not coming back now, you will be without support forever. And so it was really scary for most people. And for me, I looked at it and I just had this gut feeling that this is all bullshit. I don't know why this. I just okay, let's just sit and wait. So this was my overall thought. And then we ended up being maybe, well, in that area where we lived on the island, we ended up being only 3 or 4 families after, having seen at least 30 or 40 families leave within a week. And so our community just like reduced really dramatically. And so, long story short, Thailand turned into our home for 5 years, 1.5 years. Kids started going to kindergarten, preschool, and then also school. But this year I made them, or actually last year, but this year we made the move. I took them to Bali. We relocated to Bali now due to many little reasons, but the big reason was really that my youngest, he has some special needs, and in the school that we were in Koh Samui in Thailand, there was just not the place for him. And also on the island, and I just got that message over and over again. You have to go. And it was so weird because, we had a house. I finally managed to manifest my beachfront house. I was so happy because I'm happiest next to water. And so I got this ticked off only like a year before. And we have a dog and everything, like establish friends, a routine. And then suddenly this intuition comes and say, you have to leave. And I'm like, oh, come on. Really? And I kept asking, is it true? Is it true? And then Bali was the location. So yes, and then we made the move in May, and now we're 2 months in, and it's been the best in every possible way. I can't even explain, like the things that I had in my mental to-do list on Thailand, but they seemed so complex and unachievable or unreachable for some reasons. They suddenly, like within a week, fell into place here in Bali. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. This sounds like it was a good plan. Yes, it was good. And I'm very happy that I listened to this inner voice, and the boys are thriving. We're really happy here. We're like in an upgraded version of the paradise because we like literally left a perfect life, I thought, behind.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's an incredible thing that you have, that you listen to that voice. You might question it or not, but you still listen to it. And it's just a beautiful gift that most of us tend to ignore it because we let fear interfere.
Yes, it's so easy though. Like honestly, I tell this now, for the podcast, obviously, but going through the steps and having all the questions, and then also, of course, there is the friends that then come in and ask, "Are you sure you want to leave?" And then there's parents, and then there's your children who also like kind of don't know what's happening, and so there was a lot of obstacles and a lot of reaffirming and confirming with myself. But I think the biggest takeaway for me is, well, first of all, I should be transparent. It's not the first time that I'm doing something like that where I act against all logic, but really in tune with my feelings. And so because I have practiced this over the years, it becomes more and more safe for me to do. I already know, that's one of those moves that from the outside people won't understand. And even my brain needs to catch up on it. But I'll just go with it. I roll with it anyway, because I know that there is something so much bigger and better for me on the other side that I, right now, current me can't comprehend, right? And so if it's the first time, yeah, it's like very scary, and it might also really feel silly or stupid. From a financial point, it didn't make sense. There's so many reasons why we could have stayed and like stay in my comfort zone. It was very comfortable there. But then, yeah, here I am. And so I think if you have something, and I'm talking to the listeners now, like if there's someone out there thinking, oh, I have this dream, I have this goal, but I keep pushing it back, then that's really only fear speaking, because it's scary stepping into the unknown. And yet that's what life is about, right? So if you don't try and if you don't dare to live, then you end up like wondering, what if? And I just don't like that. I try to find out.
Yeah. So what are like, I have always wanted to live abroad. Now, I was born in Colombia. My parents moved here, right? And just, I've always wanted to live abroad. Like, I love traveling. I love, like, for me, is like, one of the places that I would love to live one day is Europe. I would love to be able to raise my family in Europe. And I don't know what it is, but just the culture, I mean, the food. And just, there's a lot of things about Europe that I absolutely love. And so, and I'm speaking for myself, but I'm pretty sure a lot of us go through this of like, okay, now we're moms. We also have to think about them. How does this affect them, the family, and all of these different factors? What are things that help you be able to quiet those voices down for you to be able to make such a big move, especially now being a mom?
Yeah, that's really something that I think is probably the biggest challenge here, because we worry so much about how it's going to affect our children, and that's natural, right? And that's a good thing too. We have to, like, I would never do something where I feel like I'm doing it against their will or against their best, like it's for their best. But yeah, how do you get there? Because I truly believe in so many areas of our lives, and especially when it comes to raising our children, that there are simply so many, statements and so many ways of this is how you have to do it. Otherwise, you're failing type of scenarios. Like these are the, what's that word? Paradigms that we're just accepting to be a fact. And it's the same. Kids go to school. Otherwise, they will not be able to survive in adulthood. You have to do certain, like they have to have routines. They have to, all these things are like, from my upbringing, these are truths that I was raised, and everyone is. And yet my travel years just showed me, when I met so many people who did things, and I'm not even only talking about raising families, raising their children. It was like, okay, how do I make money? Not in a conventional way. I don't have to go to the office 9 to 5. Oh, wow. We just like exploded this truth that was true for so many years, and now everyone works online, right? Now it's the new normal. But back then in 2000, I was still like it was blowing my mind how many people would have different alternative careers that I didn't even know they existed back then. And so it just helped me open up and help me see, okay, there might be beliefs that keep me in a box that I do not want to fit in. And it's the same with my children. So right now, and I really know I'm still in a very easy position with them because 6 and 8, they are happy. Like they're just, happy with activities. I mean, we look at stones sometimes for minutes and are amazed how this stone or whatever the ant carries stuff. So this is still an age where you can excite them about the small things in life. When I come and make decisions, major decisions like that, and I know that that will affect them, I talk to them. What I did was when this came through, I was like, okay, here's the thing. I sat down and then I also got them involved and said, look, there is this other island. It's also here. Like we have to take an airplane and we have to make plans and mommy has to like organize the things to get there. You can help me pick the things that you want to take and the other ones we're going to sell. And then you can have some, pocket money. And so everything was exciting. Everything was an adventure. They were looking forward to, they love flying in airplanes. So they're like, oh, yay. And so nothing really felt like, oh my gosh, I'm ripping them out of there. No, in fact, it was like them telling proudly their friends, we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to go, right? And while this might seem the easy stage, but then even now we're here. And I just say, okay, life is about change. Life is about embracing new situations and nothing is forever. And you have those friends in Koh Samui and we can always go back and we will visit them and we may take vacations. And then you're the cool kid who visits and you're going to be like in the center of attention. And so, it's about how you present the topic. And when you are fine and really, really grounded with your decision and say, this is it, this makes sense because I know that I had to move, like I had to make a decision for my youngest. If we had stayed there, his learning and his development would have been affected. So I had a really good why. I think moving just for pleasure or because I needed to be in a more exotic place would probably be a more difficult decision. But my why was so connected to his well-being that I just made it happen and made it sound like the best thing ever for them. And yeah, it's I don't know if I answered your question, but it's I hope it helps.
Yes, it did. It did. It's so beautiful, like the fact that you are able to listen to that intuition. And you're right. Like if somebody, like if anything, if I have to do it for my girls, like because I guess a more legitimate reason, not just because I would like for them to get raised in a more family friendly environment, right? In a more culture based that is all about family, right? And a more slower pace. Those were being my reasons because, at least for me, Europe, the way that I have seen it, my cousins live there, and they tell me like you have a better quality life when it comes like you enjoying, you're enjoying your time, and when I have traveled there, time goes by slower and in a good way. You're able to enjoy so many different things. And I'm not saying like here in the United States is bad because no, it's really not a bad place to live, but it's just if there is that type of reasoning, you're right. As a mom, it would be an automatic no-brainer of like, let's see how we can make this happen and just do it. And I think that's just, when we first met and you were like, yeah, moving from Thailand to Bali. And I was like, whoa, I have to talk to her and ask her questions because that is a move with the little ones. And it's like, I've always been curious of how moms, are able to do such a big move from one country to the next. It's like, it's impressive to me. Like it truly is.
Thank you. And I wanted to say something to the point where you say, the slow living in Europe or the image that you have right now from this place that you want to go, that's reason enough for you to just like set it as a goal. Because what you could be doing is saying, all right, we know how it is here in the United States. I've heard and also experienced on vacation that somewhere else life is different and in a way that I feel this could improve our situation. And then what if we're just trying for 1 year and see how it feels? And if not, we can always come back. And that's what I told myself in the first few travel years where I set off. I didn't know that I was ending up traveling for 10 years straight. I had the plan to go back after 6 weeks, right? So I told my family and everyone, I'll just take a little break and I'll be back. And that was the plan. I even had a business partner waiting for me. We wanted to start an agency together, and we already had the legal things enrolling, and I kept saying, I need a couple more weeks. And like after some time, he would like, Julia, you're not coming back, are you? And I was like, maybe, maybe not. And so, you know, a lot of times people, when they're trying things out, then they can actually speak from a place of knowing. Now I feel this is truly what I had imagined, because until then you're only like, you're only comparing reality with some sort of fairy tale truth, right? And then it's really hard. That is the one thing. And then as to the point where you said, oh yeah, relocating. Honestly, I made it really easy for us, because I said I could look at all the options now and pack our lives into boxes, ship it over, find a company and everything. And I said, you know what? This just feels like a headache. What is it truly that we have? Are we attached to any of this? Maybe a few things we want to take, but most of the things, that's stuff, right? That's furniture or even clothes that I can rebuy, and I'm happy to just like upgrade my wardrobe again or do like something new. And so it felt really good to just let go of everything. And in the end, we ended up having 7 suitcases. I should say 7 pieces of luggage. There was like 3 big suitcases. And then it was like me looking at the boys that this is your suitcase and you have to really pull this and this is yours, because mommy cannot possibly pull everything alone. And they were like, yes, okay, we're doing this, because they wanted to bring all their toys, obviously. And so we have, I think, 2 of those 7 pieces of luggage is filled with toys. And I said, okay, we're only taking the things that we're really attached to, and here we are. And so this is, I mean, the attachment to things is something that human beings, I think, develop over time, and it gives us safety. But when you do that exercise, and even spring cleaning in your closet, or even if you take that further, go through all the connections that we have and say, is this a healthy connection? Do I really want to be friends with these people? Or do I really want to continue those connections? It could be also on Facebook or in Facebook groups, like cleaning out things that we're carrying just because we think we have to. It's so freeing. It's such a freeing process. And so it's actually easier. It's just like checking in luggage. And then once you're in the new country, like I had one house lined up for the beginning. And then I said, but I want to be here and then see. And then we drive around. So we have a motorbike and we go and look at all the houses that are available. And then we decide, and we just found a house where we said, okay, this is it. This is our house. Here we want to stay for at least like a year, and then we'll see how we feel in a year. I guess my message here is just to be more easier on life, on yourself, and just like have fun trying things out. And you can how to, like, if things don't work out in Europe, you're easily plugged in back in the United States, right?
Yeah, no, that is very true. Right now, that is a bit of a pause because of my sister's health issues. So my sister's like my best friend, like literally, I know that there's some siblings that cannot even stand to see each other or name each other, but my sister and I are the complete opposite. Literally, we tell each other that we're each other's halves. And so that right now is kind of like, and it's not like we're choosing overall, like that is going to really stop. But I guess it's just like a whole mental and emotional process to really understand and digest really what is going on, and the fact that it's so unpredictable, right? Right now, what she has the stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and just like the chemotherapy was working, and then suddenly it stopped working. Tumors started growing back in size. Just a lot of like emotional hits, and like not, trying to. She's also a mom. She has a little one that he just turned 1 in February. So it's just a lot of things. And it's basically my parents, me, my husband, my girls, and her husband. Like that is the support system. And then her in-laws when they're here. So that is her support system, right? And though I know it's not my responsibility, just we know that that is something that right now is not the time for us, right? And that is part of our factors of why not yet, right?
Mm.
Just to see kind of like how things continue developing. But on that note, for the listeners, even if you're not moving, doing that deep cleaning, it's just so freeing. Like I'm one of those people that I love moving. I love packing. I love unpacking, and I love being, well, mostly packing for some odd reason more than pack because my ADHD hits. And that's it. Like I forget. But it's just so nice to be able to get rid of certain things that you realize that that you don't need it, right? And so, especially like in this like culture, especially like in the United States, we have that type of culture that we have to like continually consume and buy and buy and buy and buy and buy, right? And so it is very easy to fall in that boat of just constantly, and then when you look, you don't even know where to store anything. And it happens. It's natural. It's normal. Like we're in the United States. It's about to happen. But one of the things that I told my friend once, I was like, "Oh my God, I just don't know what to do. All of these toys, all of these things, whatever. I just don't like." I was getting like so stressed out. Like my anxiety was so high. My ADHD was even worse. Like it was just so many things. And she was like, "Maria, you know what? The best thing that I've ever done." Because she has been moving from state to states, around. And she was like, "You know what? Pretend you're about to move. Pretend you're about to move." And you're about to move to a different country, a different state, and you can't take everything. What are things that you don't need? And I was like, that's actually pretty smart to think about it that way, so that way you can actually get rid of the things that you don't use. Quick note for parents. Managing family finances can be stressful, right? I've been hearing from a lot of parents who feel the same way. Tools like SoFi and Monarch make it easier to track spending, plan for the future, and feel more confident about your money. Definitely worth checking it out. I'm linking both of them below in the show notes. Make sure to check it out.
Yeah, that's so good. That's actually brilliant. I love it. Sometimes, this is a perfect example of how the mind works. And sometimes you just need a different prompt, right? When you feel stuck, whether with your cleaning up, with your tasks, whatever, with the communication of your children, with your partner, with your business, all you need sometimes is someone who tells you, look, there is another angle you could go about this. And then, ooh, thank you. Now I'm back in flow, and suddenly it clicks, right? So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, it was actually like when she told me that, I was like, I'm gonna try that out because I never thought about it like that. Because obviously you're like, oh, is this like the deep cleaning? Okay, we should do this, or like have like this expectation of what it should and shouldn't be. Going back to like motherhood and like the expectations of what should and shouldn't be and when not and whatever and then what ifs,
Mm.
and the what ifs, like what if I throw this away and then I might need it, and so all of those things.
Yeah,
I think it's a very good exercise for everybody to do, especially when it comes to us in motherhood.
absolutely. Yeah, and also with you know, with the pressure that we're putting onto ourselves when it comes to certain ways of upbringing, and how to deal with situations and your children, and deep down, I truly believe that the same thing happens when you give birth. It's the same scenario when you raise your children. You have it all in you. It's the most natural thing. Like, we all know deep down how to raise our children. We just forgot how to listen to our voice. And that's the same when you give birth. We're so like disconnected, and then the noise from outside is louder than this natural instinct of ours to trust our body and give birth in the most natural way, because this is literally what we're born to do. And so when it comes to raising your children, I truly find it sometimes easier to, or what helps me when I'm at a roadblock and where I feel, "Oh, I don't know what to do," then I sit down, and also when you have children that are a little older, sit down and talk to them. Talking to them is really helping me a lot, instead of making decisions in your own head, right? Really getting them involved, ask their opinions, obviously age appropriate and not the big ones, but in a way so that you also feel like, oh, okay, this is how they see it, and this is how they feel about it. Communication in general, communications is key, I feel, in raising children, in in navigating life in general.
That is true. I agree with you. I agree on that very much. And something, like I definitely giggled as soon as he said that, like, your kids even like stop for just to look at rocks, and the amount of minutes that goes by just looking at rocks. Today, my little one, both of them, they're so fascinated by worms
Yeah.
and like centipedes and whatever, and just even ants, and like especially my 2-year old, I guess because she's closer to the ground that she sees the ants closer. I don't know, but these are so tiny, and she stops and she's like, "Mama, man, man," and then she's just staring at them and just staring at them like with such fascination of how little and how, and it's such a beautiful thing that that I think that's an incredible lesson that us, moms and parents should try to learn, that kids are there to also help you slow down, like appreciate those tiny little things and moments and just the world surrounding you. Is, I don't know, it makes you just feel more grounded and be able to truly enjoy your day to day.
I know it sounds cliche or it sounds cheesy, but life is all about enjoying the moments and being present. And kids do that. Yes, absolutely. Like I used to go do things in lightning speed, check off things off my lists. And, I was that person who traveled around the world like a maniac, been there, done that, tick kind of thing. Thanks to motherhood, I've slowed down so much, and I've come to a place where I really, I get freaking excited when this spider with the yellow head is crawling over the flowers, and I was like, oh my gosh, where is it? I sometimes laugh because my 6-year-old, he yells from the bottom of his heart. And sometimes I tell him, I thought there's a dinosaur behind me in the way you yell at me. It's this tiny little whatever. Or the spores of a flower flying by. I was like, oh my gosh, what is it? Look there. And so I truly believe that when you can connect to the small things in life like this, and you live them in a richness and in this, not only because you're faking it so that your child, I mean, I've done that too, where I was just like in my head in a different world, trying to think about, work or something. And then they would show me something. Oh, yeah, yeah, nice. And then I was like, no, that's no. And then I catch myself and say, hang on, pause whatever you're doing right now. There is something urgent you have to look at, because this end might never appear again, right? So, and then your relationship changes. And I feel like your heart grows so much more too. And that is, for me, when it comes to living a full and abundant life, is the number one thing that has to happen first. Your heart needs to change in order to then be able to receive the abundance that you're calling, and in order to like being that person that you envision to be. But it starts from within you, and this description that I just gave is really part of it, part of the process, and taking time for the little things that matter. And maybe they don't matter as much to you, but then to your children they do. And when you give them that feeling, and since we're on this Mindful Mother podcast, like really giving this attention to your child when it needs it is, I think, the biggest gift. Like, I know my boys are the happiest when I'm with them. When I just like, are you playing with us, mom? Oh, yay. And this is, I can tell that kids need that until they're teenagers, and then they kick you out of the room. But when they're still young, that's the biggest gift you can give them.
So I have worked with preteens and with teenagers, and they still want you around. Like, they still need you. They still want you around. They don't know how. And most of the times, a lot of parents tend to like collide with their teenagers is because they're looking at them in the wrong perspective, right? And it's more of like, we tend to dismiss that it's a very hard stage of life. I still have not met one single person that tells me I would love to be back to when I was 14 or when I was 13. Like, nobody like that I have met that was like, I want to go back to middle school. No, not even if you pay me. I would not want to go back to middle school, because it's a very hard age, right? And best way that I could describe it to you is like toddlers with bigger vocabulary and bigger bodies, right? There's so much going on. And, even if they tell you that they hate you, they don't hate you. Even if they tell you like, oh, I don't want to be around you because whatever, it's not it's their way of crying out, telling you that there's something going on, right? There's something wrong. And that is their way of usually expressing it. And but when they're that little, like when they're so little, it is such an incredible thing that once you tell them, yeah, I'm going to play with you, their excitement is so great. And today we were playing with like these straw leaves and we were fishing. You don't need fancy toys. And that's something, another thing that like, especially in our generation, that is just like continuously giving them, big toys and screens and this because, like they might be bored. Kids need to be bored in order to be able to develop creativity and imagination. And they only, like you said, they only need you. They only want you. And so when we're stuck behind the screens, it is hard. They're competing with that. And then when they're teenagers, then we complain because they don't want to talk to us and they just want to be on the phones. And it's kind of like if you were to rewind back, what did they see? You know?
Yeah.
And so, but that's just my perspective and being in the classroom and being able to have those experiences with these preteens and these teenagers that a lot of times they're like, Miss, I wish that you were my mom. And I'm like, I don't think so. And they're like, but yeah, no, no, no. I'm like, listen, you will not have internet with that type of attitude. You will not have a phone with that type of attitude. And the way that you talk to your mom, no, 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 no. Like, I wouldn't take your phone. I would take the chargers.
Yeah.
Have you seen a kid run like around trying to find a charger because their device, it's the funniest thing. So they're like, man, listen at the end and they'll tell me, like, and it's because I would sit down and actually listen. And I think that goes a long way with whatever age they're in, that if you just sit down and listen and you talk to them like you said, it makes the
Yeah.
relationship so much better and so beautiful.
Yeah, that's true. Can we pause real quick?
So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the fact that you're here sitting with us and telling, these amazing stories because, like I said, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of us out there that would love to take that dive of like listening to our intuitions and making that big move. And hearing your story is very motivating and inspiring. Like, at least I'm talking, from me, like, because like I said, once I met you and you told me that, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so like, this is amazing. I would love to talk to her to see how she did it. And so I am pretty sure, our listeners are going to definitely appreciate this conversation because though it is a very scary thing to do, knowing other moms that have been able to do that and listen to that inner voice that most of us tend to ignore is just, it's a huge blessing.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And maybe also before we go, it doesn't always have to be that big scary goal that you tackle. It could also mean that, you've been thinking about a thing for the longest and you're just not doing it because XYZ. So why don't you just, as an exercise, try out and look at your, mental to-do list or mental goal list where you say this one day, and just pick one and say, now is the one day, and see how that goes and see how that feels. And then overcoming your objections for that thing. It could be, I want dance classes, I want to go back into the gym, or I want to go back to eating healthy, or connecting with that friend from years ago when we had a bad situation, and talking to your mom or whatever it is. Or yeah, it could be the vacation. It doesn't always have to be that big huge goal that means a life change and affects but when you start practicing and get more comfortable with going out of leaving your comfort zone and doing new things, you'll actually see how much more it gives you back and how amazed you are. You really can then say, oh my gosh, I did that. I wonder what else I can do. And this feeling that fuels you for bigger decisions, right? Maybe that is my advice. Start small and get bigger, practice over time. And then you'll do the move if that's something that you have on your list eventually.
I love that. Thank you so much for that. And before we go, I would love for you to tell us, where can the audience find you and what is it that you do? So that way, if they have any questions or they're interested or whatever it is, like, I would love for them to get the opportunity to be able to be like, hey, you know what? I just heard this podcast and, thought about Julia.
Yeah, sure. So I usually hang out on Facebook. That's where I am most home. I also have Instagram, but so I do two things. And in fact, it's only one. I'm a coach and I help women monetize their soul gifts. I have coaching programs. I do one-on-ones. I do retreats. I have courses, run like little fun mini audio experiences that you can just like listen to, like podcasts. And from that place of I love supporting women. Then only in the beginning of this year, I started with a new brand called Sovereign Mamas, which is how we connected. And this brand is organically evolving. And right now, there is the podcast that people can definitely check out. And that's everywhere on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Sovereign Mamas. But there will be, under this brand, also opportunities to get involved. We're writing a book, actually many books, and there will be a summit. There's also a program called Sovereign Spirit that I'm designing as we speak, where you know, I'm a big believer in that whatever you do, it starts with you. And so if you run a business and you're a mompreneur, and that's my audience, like mompreneurs, I can teach you all the strategies in the world. I do have a huge toolbox. I've done digital marketing since I left Germany in 2011 and even before that, because that was my job back then. And so I know quite a bit on how to market your products, what is a good offer. I can come from that angle of strategy, but it won't do you any good if you haven't done the work, if you do not feel abundant, if you don't have that mindset and the ability to lead in a way that actually serves your business. So this is what I do inside Sovereign Spirit. I guide women, mompreneurs, but also women who just like know and understand that if I dedicate time to my personal development, my mindset, my growth overall, then my business is just like naturally going to go through the roof because this comes first. And I skipped that step myself over so many years, and I always had success in a way, but never in a way that I have it now, where I know I enjoy my business. Money is just a byproduct. And if you have that and want that, then that is definitely a place to start or connect with me, because it just changes everything. When you can say, I do work, but it never feels like work, then I just feel very motivated to have more women say that. Living abundantly rich lives and have fun with what they're doing and living their purpose, basically. So, yeah, that is the long answer of what I do.
Well, thank you so much for doing that, because that is something that a lot of us need. And you're right, it's very hard to do things or, feel accomplished if you don't start with yourself. So for our listeners, I will be putting all of her information here in the captions. Hey moms, if today's episode resonated with you, I just want to quickly mention I help moms reclaim rest, balance, and peace of mind through personalized sleep and life coaching plans. If you want extra support, you can book a free consultation with me anytime. I'm linking all the details in the show notes below. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and like so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned.